Hello and happy Friday, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this week's new episode of Breakfast with Boom. I'm your host, Mr. BoomStick XL, and as you can see on the screen, I decided to take it back and bring us some Titanfall 2 footage. What a shame that we're never going to get a Titanfall 3, right? Like after, unfortunately, what happened with Vince, I don't know if they're ever going to put their foot forward into this franchise. I mean, Apex Legend is still a thing, but man, you know what? At this point, maybe someone will also make a mech game, and maybe it would be something like Robotech or something. That would be kind of dope, also, because I can go for some Robotech, especially some early Macross stuff. Yeah, man. Change it up a bit. I wouldn't mind running around as Rick Hunter, to be honest with you, and shooting up people. That would be kind of dope. But, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank everybody for taking the time to check us out on a Friday morning. We have an absolutely packed show. It's going to be about 90 minutes. We got three major topics to get into. We're going to open up, folks, before we get into intros. We're going to open up with Asha Sharma's first big move as head of Microsoft Gaming, and that is completely removing anything or any evidence of the program known as This Is an Xbox. We got a story here from Windows Central, which we're going to read verbatim, and I think it's a big deal. It is, you know what? I'll save my spiel because I have a lot to say on it, but I do think that this is certainly a big move and a big first move for Asha. We're going to get into some Resident Evil Requiem talk. Now, of course, no spoilers. We're not going to be talking about the game, in detail in any way. So if you haven't played it or you're playing through it right now, don't do it. I promise you, there's not going to be any spoilage whatsoever. But we got to talk about this game. Not a lot of people have had the conversation, and not only did Capcom cook, they have a roadmap that goes out for the next 3 years. And folks, I'm here to tell you, Resident Evil is back in the biggest way possible. And if you are a fan of the series, you're going to be eating really, really good. And on the back end of the show, I have 2 or 3 topics on tap. I'm not sure which one we're going to get into, but we'll get there when we get there. But hey, Korkenstein, how the heck are you feeling, brother? Welcome back.
Hey, thanks. Yeah, doing good. I had a little mini vacation yesterday. Went to Palm Springs to watch the tennis tournament with my girlfriend. She's a massive tennis fan. So
Okay,
yeah,
nice.
I was out there having some beers, some good food, watching the actual matches were actually really good. And yeah, I'm refreshed, ready to start my weekend vacation now.
Hey, listen, man. You know what? Time off from work is always the best. It's funny. When I first retired, someone had the days just fly by. You don't even sometimes pay attention to them. And I don't know, someone had asked me what day it was, and I was like, yeah, it's like Friday, and like, no, it's not Friday, it's Wednesday, but you're retired, so you wouldn't know that. So I get it, man. When it's time to have a vacation and you work as hard as you do, you absolutely deserve it. But brother, we're great to have you here. We have a lot to get into. And again, the last topic which we're going to settle on is our thoughts of GDC. I'm saving that for the big end of conversation because I want to get everyone's takeaway from the 3-day event. It's done. All the information that needed to be posted has been posted. Jason Ronald answered a lot of questions. A lot of new questions have been raised. We're going to get into some of those. We'll get what Crispy and what Fuzzy and Korkenstein have to say. But speaking of Fuzzy Belvedere, how are you feeling, brother? Welcome back, man. Great to have you here.
Oh man, I'm feeling great. Glad to be here with you guys. Yeah, it's been interesting, turn of events on social media as of late. But GDC going strong. The console is now proven to be a console. But yeah, we got a lot of stuff to get into. Can't wait to talk about it. But yeah, it's going to be a fun show.
So, chat and panel, I want to open up with something that happened that has been brought to our attention by numerous publications. The one that I found first was Windows Central. Now, the post I have in front of me is from X, and it's the official Windows Central Gaming X account. And it goes on to say this in its header. It looks like your MetaQuest, Smart Fridge, and smartphone are no longer considered Xbox devices. Microsoft is seemingly moving on from the quote, "This is an Xbox" campaigns as the messaging disappears from its web branding. And now when you go looking for it, it says, "Oops, that page cannot be found." They ask, will this quiet shift help restore faith in the Xbox brand? Now, I have a lot of thoughts on this. Now, I'm going to bring up the article, and it was written by Sean Endicott, published yesterday. And in its title, it says, "This is an Xbox campaign vanishes overnight as Microsoft begins to, quote, build for what's next." And I want to read a little from the article. And of course, I have added the article to the show notes. So if you want to give it a read yourself, by all means, go give the article a click and a like. And I think, again, there's a lot of information here, and we're going to cover all of that information right now. But the article goes on to say this, gentlemen and chat. The original announcement post for "This is an Xbox" campaign is also gone, showing, "Oops, the page cannot be found." Many argued that the campaign watered down the value of the Xbox hardware. Considering the Xbox brand has taken a hit recently and formerly exclusive games have been now ported to competing consoles, it's more important than ever for Xbox, the brand, to be able to hold up its flagship product and say, "This is an Xbox," and then be able to explain why someone should want that. And you know something? I actually think this is true. Now, look, I said it yesterday, I said it last week, and I will say it again. Asha and the new team that is your, new formed Voltron Xbox team has a daunting task, or should I say tasks, in front of them. One of which, and I think that this might be the biggest of them all, is restoring faith in the brand, not just for any just consumer that buys an Xbox, more so for the hardcore. This is an Xbox which I didn't have a real problem with because I'm a diehard Xbox gamer, so I'm already here. But I can understand there was a lot of pushback for it. And what it ultimately did, Korkenstein, was devalue the brand. Now, who ultimately makes this decision to roll this back? Is it Phil on his way out the door? It wouldn't be Sarah because supposedly, according to numerous reports, "This is an Xbox" was hers. Now, I don't necessarily know if that's why she didn't get the promotion that we all thought that she deserved to get. Listen, that's tea I don't have, folks. I can't give it to you. But what I can say definitively is that it has been said that "This is an Xbox" was something that was brought to the attention of of Microsoft bigs via Sarah Bond, who comes from T-Mobile, who T-Mobile is everywhere. So I understand the ideology behind it. But like I said moments ago, Cork, it devalued the hardware. So if you don't need a piece of hardware, why are you going to buy this Xbox? Why are you going to buy the next Xbox? So if I'm going to take a blind stab at it, I would say that this is Asha's first big move as being in charge of Microsoft gaming and Xbox specifically. They have a console. You got to remember this. Nothing that has happened in the last 10 or 12 days since the big shakeup is by accident. It's not by coincidence. It's by plan. The plan is to relaunch Xbox in its 25th anniversary year, which is an incredible thing to say. Cork, I want to get your thoughts on this because I believe that this is a great first step. Now, her first step for a lot of different people are going to be different thoughts and theories. When she was first announced as taking over for Phil, she made some bold statements. She said that they want to return to the days of the roots of what Xbox is. She used the word renegade. You know, when people were talking about exclusivity coming back, she wrote, I hear you, right? These are little things that I think that when they're piled on top of each other do make a bit of a mountain. And of course, last week we talked about it. We were one of the first podcasts to break that news and talk about it last Friday. Is when she announced Project Helix, and the confirmation that it was a console. It did shut down a lot of the trolls. Now, like Fuzzy said, it didn't shut down everybody. I mean, there are still people like IGN that wrote, "When is a console not a console?" I mean, I don't think you're ever going to move into IGN. Me personally, and I know this is a bit of a side tangent. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this road. I'm going to jump right back onto the main path. But the one thing I will say, and I'm proud to say this publicly, I know and I have been told that multiple people from Xbox listen to my shows. Now, maybe not all of them, but some specific ones. And that is a crazy thing to say considering how small this channel still is, right? That's incredible. And we are we are so humbled it's beyond words. Well, I hope someone's listening now. And the one criticism that I would have for, for years is the fact that even when certain websites go out of their way to hurt the brand's image by making claims that are not true or changing words or spinning things in a direction that's going to generate more clicks, they would give them exclusive things. I actually hope that Asha shows her fangs, honestly, and decides to maybe, you know what I've always said? Sometimes you got to slap the hand to let people know that you're not messing around. Now I could say it a lot worse, which I'm not going to do because I don't really like the curse, but you got to let them know that this is unacceptable. When someone writes a bad article, you don't have to blacklist them, but the next time an exclusive that you want to share, like with an IGN, I understand the size of IGN, but I don't think you need IGN, meaning Xbox. I think IGN needs Xbox indubitably. So what I'm hoping is in one of the many steps that Asha is going to take as the leader of Xbox now, that she considers if you're not going to be at least fair with us, you're going to be put on the pay no mind list. But I want to get back onto the path here. I think based on what Asha has done so far, the announcement of the actual console, Project Helix, the fact that she wants to return Xbox to greatness, they want to return to the roots. When talking about exclusivity, she has said publicly, I hear you. I don't know what that looks like. We'll know soon enough, I would imagine. But at least she acknowledged that it's a big thing with fans. Removing this, ultimately is admitting defeat, ladies and gentlemen. They spent millions of dollars on the adverts for this as an Xbox. Millions upon millions. And walking this back, and I shouldn't even say walking it back. Removing it from the face of the planet, like it never existed, is admitting defeat. Now they quietly did it, but we're all here for it. Well, it's the opening salvo for today's show. My question to you, Horkenstein, and to the chat is: was this the right move?
I mean, yeah, it's something even simpler than that. It's starting a new marketing campaign. And when you're starting a new marketing campaign, you can't have the previous one running coincide with it. So because then now you're going to get consumers. Well, is this an Xbox? What's the future of Xbox? You're having mixed messaging here, and people have always dogged on Xbox for their messaging. And I think it's just more simpler that they're starting their Xbox 25. They're starting their new hardware push, and this is just the new marketing campaign. I don't think. I think what happened is this is an Xbox. It really devalued the brand in the sense, maybe for Twitter warriors, things like that. but not for most of the casual consumer. They actually saw an increase in their MAUs. What I think they didn't see was the revenue, people staying in the ecosystem on those other platforms. And I think that was the issue for them, is that they saw the increase, and they saw that people, you know, were playing more, but they weren't spending more once they were in that ecosystem. And I think that's why they're moving on with the new hardware. They're level setting, you know, and that's something that you need, especially if you're going to start this whole new hardware push. You need to level set, and you need to restart from scratch, and get a new message out there. So this is, I think, just on par for the course of what they're trying to do, and they don't want to make that they're having two different marketing campaigns out there. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see where they go. I think this is a great start to the new hardware to get people interested in it, get people invested in it early on. You know, because consoles are stagnating. It's a stagnating entry point. And we all know that. We've seen it actually numerous already on PlayStation side, on Xbox's side. I can't remember what Switch 2's last numbers were. I think they're the only ones, but they come in at a relatively low point for price points. And then to actually develop the console, they're using, you know, last year's tech in a sense. So their development cost is significantly lower, so they can take a little bit more of a hit on their consoles, you know, being a little bit of a loss leader to start, and then make revenue on them later, because they're low cost, not low cost, but they're lower cost compared to their competitors to make. So yeah, it's a stagnating market. And, you know, when you have so many different entry points, like Xbox, to focus on a stagnating one like consoles, it's kind of a bad decision. So I think the idea to get away from just consoles is a good idea. I think where they messed up was they started it a little too early. I could see them making this push once the new console was out, and hey, this is an Xbox, and you show how it integrates to PC, and how you could take that new stuff from PC over to your console, and then how you could take that console to your phone, and then how you could do that. And you see that, I think they started the marketing too early, to make it something cohesive that a lot of people would be able to get behind to start. But I think overall it's a good move to branch out your entry points and get other people, more people into your ecosystem. So yeah, it's a good move, I think, to level set. Let's see where it goes. Let's see what their continued marketing, because remember, they still have the Xbox 25. They made a logo and everything that we really haven't seen yet. So that could be also another marketing push. Right now, this is just GDC. So, you know, we're learning about stuff. It's not really a place to like do heavy, big news drops. What we learned was really great, but a lot of that's for developers. And it gets us a little hyped for some of this stuff coming out, but most people don't kind of know what was actually announced and what that means actually for developers. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see where they go moving forward and what the new marketing push is.
So my question to you, one additional question: who do you think initiates this? Like, do you think, like, do you believe that this is it Phil out the door, or is it Asha in the door?
I think this was something that was started when Phil. I don't think it was started by Asha, but I do think this was something that they already initially had kind of planned, and they accelerated it with Phil's, I think, retirement and Sarah leaving. I think they found that this was the perfect time to be like, hey, new leadership, new level set. This would be the time to set new expectations without having to do a lot of redactions and having to pull back a lot and create totally new marketing spins and things like that. They're just like, it's already written for us with new leadership. Let's announce it. And it's a lot easier to digest that information, like we're doing right now.
Yeah, no, good points all around, brother. Great way to open up the show. Fuzzy Bovadier, let's bring you in, man. Let's get your thoughts on this because I actually think that Cork is onto something. I think new leadership, fresh perspective, and that's what it seems like they've done here. They've obviously taken some big steps, and look, I think ultimately the real takeaway from this is the admittance of defeat, admitting that this was a bad move. I don't know if they're going to admit everything that they've done in this generation, the things that really didn't work, will be bad moves or not. I'm not exactly sure. Like, of course, exclusivity. Is it a mistake? Well, I mean, I have always said I don't like it. I understand it. I've come to accept it, but I don't like it. What are your thoughts on this, man?
This is kind of a weird one for me because I think I was more of the target audience for this is an Xbox type of advertisement, but I always said that it was not pitched in a way that made the most sense, and kind of with this new leadership, they can put it back to the focus of the center of the console. Like I always wanted them to do a commercial where it shows somebody playing on the console. Hey, the wife comes over. Hey, the kids want to watch Bluey or some sort of cartoon. All right, they can have the TV. I go off with my Xbox Ally, or I go off with a tablet. That's
pretty cool, dude. Like they should hire you for marketing.
But there's just so many ways that they could have expanded it, like still keep the center focus. And it looks like this new leadership will do that. Like they've said, and I joked about it on FSP last night. They've said the word console more times in the past couple of weeks than they've said in like the past couple of years. So it's definitely a shift to some extent as far as how they view the brand. And whether it's Asha's idea or an outgoing Phil idea, I think the way I look at it, it's probably Booty whispering in her ear, like, yeah, this was something that I got outvoted on or something kind of thing. And it's like, yeah, this is probably one of the first things we should pull down kind of thing. Because I'm pretty sure he has some influence on some of her decisions, even though, yeah, he's got to focus on content, which it's going to be interesting with him being the one in charge of content. If that means he's going to do time deals or, money hat deals and things like that, that Phil didn't really care to do. So we'll see if that changes along with things in the future. But yeah, I think this is an Xbox wasn't a bad message. I agree with some in the chat that had the mobile store come around or been readily available, it would have probably made even more sense. But they should have played it where you start with the console and then you can shift to your handheld device, or you can shift to your PC, or you can shift to your phone or something along those lines. Like those are things that would have made more sense. Or showing that the expanded gaming household where, let's say, the kids are on the Xbox, the husband's on the ROG Ally X, and the wife is on like a PC or something like that, and they're all gaming in the same game all through Xbox and having fun kind of thing. I think that would have been a better way to show this is an Xbox where all the devices that you may already have, along with starting with the console, show what it can do or what the platform is about. But if they're going to move away from this, that's fine. I can still access my Xbox library through the cloud on my Meta Quest. I can still access it on my PC, which in fact we're going to get an update next month for an Xbox mode on the PC. So be interesting to see how that's handled and stuff. I'm assuming it's basically the similar setup to what you see on the Xbox Ally and Ally X and stuff. But yeah, it's a good time to sunset that, as opposed to kind of leaving all that stuff up while you're talking about console, because you know how social media is, and the gaming media would be getting after them about, well, if everything is an Xbox but you're focused on the console, well, which is it really? Because it looks like, are you saying still that my PlayStation is an Xbox because I'm playing an Xbox game and playing against Xbox players through crossplay? Or that takes away some of that confusion, even though I'm pretty sure there's going to be news articles about, conflicting stuff like, oh, did they do this too soon? Or did they, wait too long to remove this type of ad? And what's the new ads going to look like? I'm pretty sure they're already writing articles as we speak. But yeah, perfect timing to kind of sunset it. Go ahead and push forward with the center focus being on the console, and see how things go from here. And I'm pretty sure, considering how energized the community seems to be now, as well as Xbox being the focal point or being talked about more in more of a positive manner as opposed to being dead all this time. It starts with this new leadership, and seems like that's the message that they're going to continue to carry, and stay in the media spotlight with positive messaging, or at least positive stories about it. And that's a pleasant change so far.
Yeah, I mean, look, I do like the idea that this is a fresh start. I think it is pretty ironic when you just take a step back and you like, in their 25th anniversary, the brand has been around 25 years. We know that the best time for this brand was during the Xbox 360. We know they took a bit of a, step back with the Xbox One. They took a really big step forward with the Series X, with the reveal of how that was, shown to the public for the first time. Did a lot of really great things. I think the Series S, no matter what anyone tries to tell you of it being a terrible console, it's an amazing console at the time, at the price what you were getting. Outside of it being somewhat limited with with development and stuff, it was a great console, especially if it's especially in homes that had like younger gamers. Like you didn't have to go out and buy a $500 box for. You can go out and buy this $300 box, put it in their room, and they don't care. They're playing Fortnite, they're playing Roblox, they're playing Minecraft, they're enjoying it. So it was. I thought it was great ideas. And then things started to happen, and Xbox kind of went away from themselves, and unfortunately, look, the hardcore on any brand, whether it be PlayStation, whether it be Nintendo, or whether it be an Xbox, we equate for less than 10%, and 10% is being crazy generous. It's gaming is yes, it's for hardcores. We buy all the games, and the numbers are there. Hardcore gamers buy more than 12 games a year, which equates to about one per month. The normies, the casual gamers, buy less than two. And there's a significant amount of the audience that don't buy any, that just stay on free-to-play games. So what is that? What am I getting at? Well, even though we don't equate for like 50% of sales of a platform, the hardcore are still important. And the one thing that Xbox got away from their hardcore audience, man. It really did. And I not blaming Phil, I'm not blaming Sarah. They were losing in some cases 5-1 in some countries with Xbox versus PlayStation, and they had to try and do some different things. Well, some of those different things didn't work, and new leadership, new attitudes, new ways of doing things. We'll see. We'll see ultimately what happens on whether or not some big moves in regards to exclusivity are changed. Again, I actually think that would be something that they should be more frugal about, to be honest, but that is certainly a topic for another day. But I do like a lot of the first steps that Asha Sharma has taken as the new leader of Xbox. And even though we can't definitively say that this is her first move, it certainly does seem like it, because obviously under her tenure, which is only a couple of weeks now, they've made some big statements about hearing the fan base and wanting to bring Xbox back to what it's known for. And now this is an Xbox being completely removed. And there's new slogans about Project Helix and build for tomorrow and you are Xbox and all these other different slogans that are starting to come out. Seems like they have changed. They have about faced on what they were talking about earlier, and I do like what they're putting down. But you know what? I was originally going to save GDC conversation to the end of the show, but we're here, so we're going to segue into it now. Cork, GDC, as we know, is not a fan show, right? We know that it's not. Now, of course, my glass always being half full rather than half empty, and I don't mind, shooting for the stars and falling flat on my face, but some of my ridiculous, hopes and dreams. I don't mind that. I like being an excited fanboy. So of course for my own backup, I did say that it's unlikely that we're going to get a glimpse of the console, and I kind of knew that we weren't. But you always got to throw hope to the wind, and maybe it carries you to the land that you were hoping to get to, right? So I'm always going to be that kind of a gamer. I'm always going to be that kind of a podcaster. I'll hope for the best, and whatever happens. But what did happen? And Fuzzy made mention of this. And if you look at some of the commentary, some of the reports, some of the things that were said by Jason Ronald, some of the conversations that were put out there, the word console was overly used. And there's reasons for it, right? Obviously, there are still people like IGN specifically who will write an article and ask the ridiculous, dumbass question, when is a console not a console? I guess the answer is when it's not a console, you boobs. I mean, what do you want me to tell you? It's a freaking console. But apparently, they have to still ask the question because they're a bunch of trolls over at IGN. I'm sorry. I'm not going to apologize for saying that. That's what they are. They are who we thought that they were, and that's it. Sorry. But let me get back on the path. I want to get the chat's thoughts. I want to get the panel's thoughts. Your takeaways from this event, because it's the Game Developer Conference. It's made for developers to come and see and learn about the new hardware. And one of the things that was explained to me in a very, very obtuse, non-ridiculous way is how developing for this next generation Xbox is going to start off as, developing for PC, as all games are. And before, you used to have to, do some different things to get it to go to PlayStation or to Xbox. And well, for Xbox specifically, that's no longer going to be a problem. So when you're making a game for PC, it's ultimately going to be writing the code for Xbox. And whether that's AI or what, I honestly don't know, because I'm not that technical. What that tells me, and I said this the other day, and I'm excited, is the fact that you're going to see less games skipping Xbox because of extra development time. If you're making a game for PC, you're going to be able it will be ultimately making a game for Xbox, and that's why Project Helix is so unique and special. It's something that's never been done before. It's giving you, now granted, they have a lot to do before this console releases sometime in 2027, right? They have to make sure that the UI is like what we have now. The biggest hurdle, and I've actually even heard Jez Corden say this, Cork, is that they have to absolutely make sure, and I agree, because I am not a PC dude. Whatever the UI is going to look like, this box needs to turn on. I need to pick up a controller, press A, and go. That's it. They're going to have to figure out a way to bury Windows so far deep in this thing that only the most technical are going to know what to look for and where to find it. Now, I'm sure they're going to simplify it where if you want to go into, into the innards of this thing, maybe they'll have a Windows button. I actually hope they don't, to be honest with you, but fine. That's just me. But we got the name of the Project Helix. In its namesake, it is a merging of DNA, and I think it's brilliant. I actually think it's brilliant because we are merging DNA. You're taking the best of Xbox, you're taking the best of PC, and you're putting it together. And ultimately what it is, it's a hybrid console. And I love the fact that Xbox is doing it first. right? They're the first ones that are going to do it, and it's freaking dope. But there were a lot of takeaways. I've already spent some time talking about it, but I haven't had a chance to sit down and talk with you, Cork, or Fuzzy for that matter. What were your big takeaways from GDC 2026?
Oops, looks like I was muted. Yeah, so it was a cool what they're showing. I really like the new vision and idea, because this is kind of what they've already been setting up for. I remember people were saying, "Oh, Xbox is making short-term decisions, short-term, moves for money grabs." And I was like, "No, to play anywhere and expanding your entry point to PC and mobile, and that's a long-term kind of thing. That's something that they've been setting up when they switched from the SDK to the GDK, and because the GDK already technically does what Project Helix is going to do. When it's very basic. There's more nuance to it, but basically, when you're developing for Xbox, you're already developing for PC in a sense. You add the I think it's called the GDK X.
GDK, yes.
Yeah, GDK-X, which actually adds the Xbox ecosystem, like achievements and storefront and things like that to what you're already building, and then now you have an Xbox game. So yeah, it's a lot more nuanced than that, but just for basic. So yeah, Helix is already, or Xbox is already doing that, and I think that's why you're seeing more developers jump into play anywhere, because they're not having to develop a totally different SKU. They're able to develop and do both and have that integration, which is huge time saving cost for them. And then yeah, with Helix, I think what it'll do, I didn't really get, when I worked in the industry, I didn't do more of the technical stuff in development, that side. I was more production side. But yeah, I think what they'll do is they'll house it with, I think it's like Win32 container or something like that, or API, to play those Helix games. And then they'll use what they already do now, and that's virtualization, to play your Xbox Series X games if you need it. Just like they do kind of right now with the Xbox One, or with the previous ones like 360 and OG Xbox. Don't quote me on that. I think that's the kind of the basic. I've been trying to, during my busy time, like I said, I was in Palm Springs yesterday, trying to research and look stuff up while I was busy. So I'm still learning, but I want to learn more about what their plan is, because if you learn at the technical specs, you can understand and see where the vision is and what they're trying to do. And if you can understand, then you can learn. And that's kind of what I want to try and do before I make any judgments, kind of with this whole thing. But with the GDK stuff, or the GDC, I think it's a great start, especially the Xbox 360 and Xbox OG coming to PC, bringing that stuff back. Like, they've been saying it, and that's one thing even Sarah said, in previous, is they want to bring your library forward with you. And I think that's something that's been at the core of Xbox for a while, with backwards compatibility. You remember, you even had some of the other some of the other companies like, oh, who wants backwards compatibility, only to later adopt it. It's such a good forward, and that's something that I've always praised Xbox for being. Why I've continued to buy their products is because a lot of what they do is consumer forward. And if that's their vision, and they're still staying true to where I get the most value out of my money, I'm going to continue doing that. So, or sticking with them and spending in that ecosystem. And what we saw at the GDC was just a more testament to that. So yeah, let's see what Helix does. Let's see how it looks. Hopefully maybe June showcase, if anything, maybe a little sneak peek. They've done it before, but I think, well, yeah, that was when they were releasing in holidays. So maybe we might, I remember seeing the Xbox One and the Xbox Series X at the showcases, but they were releasing that holiday. So we still don't have a release. I think he said, what, 2027 I think is
next year. Well, yeah, one of the big
rumored.
takeaways was that's next year holiday.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, so yeah, maybe next year we might see something. Maybe they might give a sneak peek. Who knows? I'm excited for June, but it doesn't seem like we're going to be short of consoles or games from Xbox anytime soon.
Yep. That is for damn sure. You know what? Couple of things before I bring in Fuzzy Belvedere, and I want to read a list of the top 5 highlights from the show before we bring Fuzzy in. I do want to catch up on super chats. There's been quite a few of them, so before they get any more, let me just catch up with that, and then we'll get right back to the show. So, good friend of the show, Ryan, drops a very generous $5 super chat. He says Resident Evil 1 remake is currently in development, looking at 2030 release. Thank you for updating the iTunes more frequently. Yeah, I'm doing it daily now. So if anyone that wants to catch it on any of the Spotify channels, I'm putting them up. As soon as the show is done, I start downloading and I convert it to MP3, finish up the show notes, and I drop it in there. It's just been a lot. I'm trying to do the videos, I'm trying to do shorts, I got unboxings I got to do, and I'm just a one-man show. It's as much as it's a lot of fun, it's also a lot of work. So apologies if you've been waiting for the iTunes, but they are going to be uploaded more frequently. Ryan drops an additional very generous $2 super chat and says Resident Evil 10 coming in 2029. The DLC for RE9 is Leon based. Yeah, you know what? I mean, it's probably Leon based. I hope that it's maybe we get one for Chris. There's a rumor floating that we're going to get some Chris Redfield action. So I'd love to see what Chris has been up to. I know, again, no spoilers. I'm not going to tell you anything about the game at all. But yeah, I'd like to say Chris Redfield would be dope to be able to use him. Find out what he was doing during Resident 9. Maybe that's going to be a DLC. We'll see. JMac 800, generous friend of the program, OG graybeard like myself. He says this, shout out to Phil Spencer and Sarah Bond. What they did for Xbox could not have been done by the new leadership. Everything happens for a reason. Yeah, I mean, listen, I've said it before, J-Mac. I don't think anybody, I don't think Asha should try to fill Phil's shoes. I don't think that should be a part of her plan. She's going to do things differently. No one could fill Phil's shoes. You just can't. He is icon within Xbox. He literally saved the brand. We all know this to be true. Sarah Bond is a incredible human being. She is one of the smartest women that is in gaming or in the industry, because I don't know if she's going to stay in gaming or move on to something. There was a reason Microsoft headhunted her and brought her into Xbox. She didn't accidentally get the job. So she's talented. Wherever she goes next, she's going to be a great leader there as well. And they did wonderful things. But that's not the case anymore. Now there's new leadership. There's going to be a new ideology. There's going to be new methods of doing things. I don't blame Phil or Sarah for any of the shortcomings for Xbox. Things had to be done. Multi-plat, it's not something the OGs liked, to be honest with you, but it's something that happened. How they reverse that, I literally have no idea. I've said it about half a dozen times already. I wouldn't want that task because I don't know what you do. How do you put the genie back in the bottle? You know what I'm saying? I have literally no idea. Do you put some games on PlayStation 5? Do you take all games away? Do you keep specific games to yourself? Look, this is a bit of a tangent. I'm sorry, folks. J-Mac opened up the box. Now I got to come out of it. I'm going to be honest with you. If it's me, I pull the PlayStation. I walk over to PlayStation. I take my toys and I go the F home. That's what I would do. What toys am I talking about? All right, Halo, it's already been announced. Gears, Forza. You know what? We're not putting Forza on that. Now, that's a stupid move. I'll tell you right now, from a business point of view, it's dumb. Because where is Forza going to be? It's going to be in Japan. What sells really well in Japan? PlayStation. So obviously, putting Forza Horizon 6 in Japan on a PlayStation that sells really well, and maybe, and again, I don't know if it's even remotely possible, you get this thing onto Switch, holy cow, it's going to sell ridiculous. So from a business point of view, you can't take that one away. From a console warrior point of view, of course you want to take that away from them, but it's whatever, it's fine. But Gears hasn't been announced, so you keep EA to yourself. What else could you do? Well, you're not going to keep the next Fallout, right? You're not, right? That's going to go everywhere because it's Bethesda. Starfield is supposedly going to, pre-orders are going live on March 17th. At least that's the rumor. So, I mean, that anything new from Bethesda, you're gonna put everywhere, but except Elder Scrolls 6. Like, see, that's the one. Like, if you really want to make a statement, you announce it. See, again, that's why I'm not in charge of marketing, because what I would have done, and I'm going to get right back to the show, folks, but I got to say this. What I would have done is, if there is something ready, and I think there is, and I think we're going to see something in June. This is just me spitballing. I think Todd Howard comes out. He does. He's rocking his brown leather jacket that he loves, right? That he's known for. And he shows a trailer for the Elder Scrolls 6. And all it has is an Xbox logo and a PC logo, and that's it. You drop the mic and you walk off the stage. And when the Ryan McCaffreys of the world come asking about what about PlayStation, you simply say, we're not talking about PlayStation right now. It's launching on Xbox and PC. And that's it. And you close comment. And when they keep asking, you keep saying the same shit. We're not talking about PlayStation right now. And you let them keep wondering. And you get interest back in the brand. Like, oh my God, that's a big exclusive. That's going to be on the Xbox? Holy cow, they're back. Until they're not, right? Remember, Asha said the plan is the plan until it's no longer the plan. Now, that's a statement, man. That means something. So if you want to drop the mic on the stage and walk the F off with a swagger, that's the game to do it. But I also don't run marketing, and I keep checking my LinkedIn, and they're not reaching out. So obviously, I'm not the guy for the job. So it's fine. But let me continue. We have here Dan the Man Cunningham dropping a very generous $5 super chat. He says, I had no issue with this as an Xbox campaign. I think where it hurt is they did nothing to help their sales. No price cuts, no packing games, nothing. That's you're absolutely right. 1,000% right. They literally did nothing. And when you do nothing, well, you get nothing. At least that's what my pops used to tell me. J-Mac drops an additional very generous $5 super chat. He says, now is the time for Asha Sharma and Maddie B to set their mark and define Xbox. Going forward, out with the old, in with the new, hashtag gray beards, Xbox for the win. Yeah, I think so. She's gonna keep plugging away. Lots of really good moves to start her tenure. I really do. I mean, a lot. The whole Gamergate thing was so stupid. Like, oh, she doesn't have a lot of gamer score. There are Xbox players that don't have a lot of gamer score. What are we talking about here? Come on, man. So that was dumb. But I'm very excited for the future of the box. Nothing that has transpired since the change in leadership has me worried about Xbox, and you shouldn't be worried either. Brett Bingham drops a very generous $10 super chat. Brett goes on to say, calling it, Sony is going to copy Helix and Steam Machine. IGN is going to be a clown show saying that the PS6 is completely different and new, even though they copied them and launched their own 1+ years before Sony. Yeah, I mean, listen, they're just a joke over there, and they know it. And I don't know whether either they're really stupid or they're really leaning into it one way or another. I don't like their rhetoric, and that's fine. But Nino Vestic, our generous friend all the way from Hawaii, has once again gifted one Double Barrel Gaming membership. Of course, that is very kind of you. He has done that more times than I can count. Aloha to you and the family, brother. Have a wonderful weekend, and thank you again for the extreme generosity. And we have another super chat here from Elemento Pio, who drops a very generous $5 super chat. He says, the narrative of everyone ditching Xbox RE9 for the PS5 Pro makes me laugh. Capcom just pulled Capcom just pulled ray tracing from the Pro. Who's laughing now? Yeah, I mean, listen, the whole Pro thing. Look, I get it. It's a new piece of tech. It's better than the PlayStation 5 in some aspects, a little bit more power. But ultimately, it's only 3% better than the Series X. And in some cases, and in most big game cases, the pisser technology is not even used. So I again, yes, it's a little bit more powerful. Okay. Resident Evil 9, they did some cool things with it. It looks better, but yes, they did pull the ray tracing. Why is that? Because it's not working. Why isn't it working? Well, I couldn't tell you that. I'm not a tech guy. Maybe Fuzzy or someone else could tell you when we get to that. But listen, a big thank you so much to all of the generosity, but we got to get back on this train. So look, what I want to do, Fuzzy Belvedere, for you and the Chaz, I'm going to, I have a bunch of notes here of the 5 big takeaways, the key announcements, if you will, from GDC for Xbox. And of course, right off the clip is Project Helix, the next generation console confirmed as the next generation Xbox, designed to bridge console and PC, allowing games to run seamlessly across both ecosystems. It will feature a custom AMD silicon with massive advancements in ray tracing and new AI-powered path tracing. Second point of contention is the 2027 development kit. That is going to be going out, and that has been confirmed to be going out early 2027, which lines up with a holiday 2027 release. And I know there was some talk about, if it releases, too late into 27, that means it's coming out in 28. Well, if you go back to when the kits for the Series X and S were sent out, I believe it was April of 2020, and the consoles launched in November. So I think it's going to probably be the same thing. We will certainly see, but expect more information this June, I would imagine. Yes, I believe that this next console, Project Helix, is going to be out in holiday of next year. Rolling out in April, and this again came the way of Jason Ronald, the Xbox mode for Windows 11. This feature brings the console-like full-screen controller-optimized UI to PC, aimed at improving game performance by reducing background processes. Again, I don't game on PC. Anyone that does, this is awesome for you. The closest thing I'm going to do for gaming on a PC is when this Helix comes out and it's sitting underneath my TV. This is now one of the things, at least for me, because I am an old man and I like old games. One of the best announcements was the backwards compatibility team coming back. That was huge, man. And I, there was a tease at the end of what Jason Ronald had to say regarding there are going to be new ways to play some of these older games, and that's it. We don't know what he is talking about, but apparently that's going to be revealed very soon. That has me very excited. I don't know about anybody else in the chat. I like playing old games. It does not bother me at all. And the fact that you're going to get the HDR boost, you're going to get the FPS boost, you're going to get new ways to play these games. Yes, please. And ultimately, maybe, just maybe, chat, this is going to be where we get Prototype and Singularity and Marvel Ultimate Alliance, maybe even some of the Spider-Man game, maybe even that Wolverine Origins game, which is awesome, that a lot of people skipped on. Maybe all those games would be somewhat backwards compatible in some way, some form. If you got the disc, that would be dope. And lastly, they have the advanced technology focus. Project Helix will feature next-gen AI-powered upscaling FSR and neural texture compression and next-generation neural rendering. And of course, Jason Ronald went into what that neural technology is going to be. It's not something I'm going to cover. You can go and you can find it. But again, these are the big takeaways. Fuzzy, what were your favorite parts of GDC?
I'll start with the backwards compatibility because it has a lot of aspects to it. Like I think the fact that they're starting that group as far as for the backwards compatible games is an awesome thing. I know a lot of us were a little bit disappointed when they kind of cut it off or shut it down for some point in time, but I think it was so they could focus on the new hardware and figure out how to integrate the backward stuff and the forward stuff all in one device type of thing. But the fact that that's being restarted and the games will potentially be played in different ways, I take that in two different or look at it in two different ways. Way one, which I'm hoping, and it also ties into a lot of that neural stuff as far as the AI or the MPU they'll be in the unit. They're going to be able to do something a little bit more than what a DLSS can do type of deal. So instead of just doing a resolution bump where you're taking a 1080p picture or game that's running at 1080p and then upscaling it to 1440 or 2160, I think they're going to also be able to affect the textures without necessarily the developer needing to create a separate texture pack. The game will be able to recognize, or at least the AI will be able to recognize, hey, those are rocks over there, and those green things in the distance are trees. Let's make them look like trees, instead of having that pop in or blocky LOD as far as the way things load in. So I think the hardware will kind of brute force some of the older games in making them look better, almost like they may have been remastered. I know that might be a bit of a stretch, but I think that's one of the goals that, from the rumors I've heard before when it was, talked about as far as Windows 12, where, quick resume was going to be incorporated and FSR was going to have like an improvement over FSR built into it as far as for gaming and stuff like that. I think that's some of the stuff that we may see where they'll make sure things will be able to do 60 frames or 120 frames. They'll make sure that they have compatible HDR, visuals as well. But I think they'll also be able to kind of upscale not just the resolution, but the level of detail in some of these games. Now, it may not make it look like it's a brand new game. Like it's not going to be like Oblivion, the original versus Oblivion, the remake, but it might be like a happy medium where some games may not necessarily need a full remake. Like I would be curious to see what a Division 1 looks like on that new hardware in that case, because unfortunately, with the 10-year anniversary being a big Division fan, they didn't do a full remaster or resolution bump or graphical detail type of thing. But I think maybe the hardware will be able to kind of do some of that through AI. And the other thing, and this is something that Fun Speculation, who's also in the chat, talked about on FSP last night, the thing I would love to see is having some of these games be playable on PC. And people will be like, well, why would you want a console game playable on PC? I think this is something that was always in the plans, where those, Xbox Ally and Ally X, even though they can't play console games today, I was kind of wondering how they would handle things moving forward when this device comes out. Would you be able to emulate some of those console games? So if you own, a 360 game or an Xbox One game or an original Xbox game digitally, maybe they have, just like they're putting an Xbox mode on the PC, maybe that will also open a window or the opportunity to play those games. Now, that would be the workaround for the publishers that are against Play Anywhere or, dual entitlement. So basically the device will be in this console mode, although be it that the next one will be a console with, PC, tendencies. And I put a thing in the chat about Helix and DNA and all that stuff. So check it out if you come across it. But I think part of that play in different ways would be bringing those games to PC or those PC handhelds. And hopefully that will be the way the ecosystem expands without having to say this is an Xbox kind of thing. So I'm hoping that's part of it. But the big thing with the neural stuff, the updates, the visuals, the ease of development when it comes to making something for the Xbox or the Windows Store, I think is going to be the biggest benefit, because it always puzzles me when you look at games that come to Steam that could easily be put over on the Microsoft Store, and for whatever reason, whether it's some of the red tape that you have to go through as a developer to get on the Microsoft Store, or maybe some of the tweaks or certification stuff that you have to do, this moving forward, and them also giving you like what is it, that Playtech or there's like an online cross play,
the
PlayFab, yeah, with them giving that to the developers that are willing to put it on the store. I think that's going to open up a lot more devs that normally would just focus on Steam and maybe Epic and GOG, possibly also coming to the Microsoft Store, making it even easier as far as adding to your library without having to necessarily go to Steam or go to GOG or Epic and stuff like that. So there's a lot of things that were great news that I'm looking forward to. The only thing, although it's because I'm impatient, the only thing I didn't like was the fact that they'll get the tongue tied today. The developers will get the dev kits in 2027. I was hoping some of them would already have them. Like I'm pretty sure First Party already has them, because remember those little things that were covered up when we saw the dev direct for Forza Horizon 6,
which they claimed were PlayStations. Didn't people claim that?
So far we have a pretty good idea that the First Party and Activision, Bethesda, all of them probably already have the dev kits. But I was hoping some of, like, maybe a EA or a Capcom or even a Take-Two, that would be huge if they already have those dev kits without having to wait until January to actually get them. So that way, the whatever optimization they can do for GTA 6 or Resident Evil 10 might not be until 2030, but we know that they're working on a lot of other remakes in between there. Having those ready for the launch of this next console, I think, would be pretty huge. And I'm pretty sure this thing will play a lot of the cross-gen stuff great, but getting it in the hands of the developers a little bit sooner would have been, I think, well, it would probably set me up for disappointment with it not coming out this year. But still, I think more time to the devs, leads to a better product and less having to do a day one patch or continue doing patches down the road. Having them get used to this new ecosystem and dev kit will make it that much easier for games coming the year of the launch of the box, as well as the first couple of years, instead of having to wait until the midpoint where things start to get better and we see all the bells and whistles and stuff like that. But yeah, GDC for something that's geared to the devs and not for the consumer or the end user, I think we got some pretty juicy information, and look forward to more information on the console as time permits.
Yeah, I mean, listen, this was a great GDC. Lots of big information. Now, granted, there were some additional questions that some people are asking. I don't have all those questions in front of me. What I can say for myself, as someone who's non-developer, who's looking at this from a fan's point of view, and I know that this show is not really meant to be a fan show. It's meant to be a show for developers. I think that even as a fan, I took away a lot of excitement for the fact that there is a console happening next year. It is a console, which is great. They've said it more times than I think they needed to say, but they did that, I think, on purpose. That's great. Backwards compatibility coming back in a big way. And when Jason Rhino says new ways to play old games, I don't know what it means, but someone in the chat, and I think it was, let me see if I could find it real quick, made mention of they hope that they add achievements to the OG Xbox games. That's pretty damn interesting. Let me see if I can find it. I'm pretty sure it was Carla Boger in the chat that actually asked that. So Paris, what's going on, brother? How you feeling, man? He's in the chat. He says, "Boom, that isn't happening." But I don't know what isn't happening. If you're talking about exclusivity, yeah. Listen, I know, dude. It's I don't know how they walk that back. I'm pretty sure that's what he's, because again, this chat is flying by, so I didn't see it. So shout out to Paris Lily, who took the time to be here on a Friday morning. I think that's what you mean, and I agree with you. I don't know how would you come back from that. Listen, whatever they're gonna do, they're gonna do. I'm pretty sure that what he's referring to is Elder Scrolls 6. Listen, of course they're not gonna do it. Paris, I'm just being a fanboy for a second. I'm saying that if I was running the show, that's what I would do. I would be like, listen, we're just not talking about the PlayStation 5 and walk off the stage. But again, that's what a fanboy would do, right? So at least I admit it. So shout out to Paris Lily for taking the time. Daneros, what's up, brother? Yes, did anyone realize that they dropped Bravely Default Remake into Game Pass? Just like, hey, it's another one. There's too many games, man. There just really are. But look, what a great way to open up the show. We got about another 21 minutes, give or take, because I do want to get out of here under 90 minutes because I got some stuff to do because it is the weekend, and I'm just backed up with everything. But we still have a topic to get into, and a topic that I'm excited to talk about. That's Resident Evil 9. Now, look, again, if you're worried about spoilers, folks, I'm here to tell you, you got nothing to worry about. There's not going to be any talk of specifics that happened, because first of all, I would never do that to ruin someone's experience. What I will say is, if you are someone that doesn't like horror, I don't know if this game is for you, because the aspects of the way, look, let me see if I can put this into words, because first of all, I know that we're only into the third month of the year. So it's really hard to say that this is going to be my definitive game of the year. There's so many games coming out, and there's a lot of really awesome Xbox games coming out. So I don't know if one of those are going to jump forward. I mean, Fable could be my game of the year for all I know, and it's probably going to be. But the truth of the matter is that Resident Evil 9, as the kids like to call it, is peak Capcom. I don't know, as much as I herald Resident Evil 2 2019 as one of my favorite games of all time. Like, it's so well done, and I'm such a Resident Evil 2 fan. Like, for me, in my top 5 games of all time, Resident 2 is number 1. Resident 2 98 is number 1. Now, on a Tuesday, that changes to Resident Evil 19 because the remake was done so freaking good. They didn't leave anything out. Everything was perfect. It was just done perfect. So, of course, since Resident 2, there's been Resident 3 remake. There's been Resident 4 remake. We've had Resident Evil 7. We've had Resident Evil 8. Resident Evil 8, it was good. I just beat it. I beat it this year. I didn't realize how close to the end I was. I literally was like 20 minutes from beating the game. I have no idea what made me stop with the segment with Chris Redfield, but I did. I really enjoyed 7. 7 was my game of the year. I was a little on the fence about the first person stuff, but it was a scary game. What I love about Resident 9 is they give you lots of choice. You want to play it, because some people played Leon in third, or we should really just call him John Wick, because that's really what it was. He's basically John Wick. It's the action in his segments are so freaking good. It's unbelievable, right? And then somehow Capcom figured out, Korkenstein, how to like literally slice the game in half. And they give you grace. And Grace, first of all, let me just say this about the actress, and I don't have her name in front of me, and I should be ashamed of myself as a host. My God, if this woman doesn't win Voice Actress of the Year, holy freaking cow. Like, her acting in this game is so believable, and it's not just the words, it's the short breaths that she takes. Like, the you could logistically hear the panic in her freaking voice. Like, look, I'm a nerd for this stuff, so of course when I tell you I'm getting goosebumps, I'm not BSing. Like, I get really into this, and Resident Evil is my favorite series, and I'm so excited to talk about this because not a lot of people are having this conversation, and ultimately we got to bring it back to games. Like, I know console war makes a lot of money for a lot of people, and that's great, but I'm here for the games. And this is a game that I think that if you are even a half fan of the series, you owe it to yourself to buy. You want to wait for a sale, not a problem. But again, so far this year, best game of the year. It's not even hands down. But I mean, look, and you know what's crazy? We still have Animusha Way of the Sword coming out this year, which looks freaking crazy, right? What's Pragmatic? Is that what the one that's coming out? The one with the little girl?
Pragmata, I think it is.
Pragmata, that's what it is. Yes, thank you. I was saying Pragmatic Eagle. What's up, brother? Nice to see you in the chat. That's also a Capcom game. Oh my God, it's crazy. Like, they have so much coming out. But look, I want to get your thoughts on Resident 9. No spoilers. But what I do want to talk about is the roadmap. Now, I got a couple of articles in front of me here. So the other day, the producer of Resident Evil 9 came out and said that it will confirm that their Resident Evil 9 Requiem is going to have 2 DLCs. Yes, freaking please. I don't care what they cost. I hope that we don't have to wait too long for them. I want to jump right back into the game. I'm playing through a second playthrough now. What I'm hoping for and what I'm waiting for is usually when one of the Resident Evil games comes out a couple of months after its release, Capcom releases like that $5 pack that gives you, the ability to have unlimited ammo, weapons. Like, I have to save up the CP points, and I probably spent them like an idiot. But I want to get something unlimited so I could just run through the game, not to try and get better achievements or anything. I like running through the games anyway, but if that comes out in the next couple of weeks, I'm buying it. Yes, I know. I don't buy the DLC. Don't feed the trolls, but yes, I'm going to buy it. I'm responsible for DLC ultimately because I was one of the first people that bought like the horse armor and didn't care all those years ago for Oblivion. But so Resident Evil 9 getting 2 DLCs, Cork. Now, what's listed here is that the Leon DLC, and this is dope. This is really dope. It's going to take place as Leon between Resident 7 and 8. Holy freaking cow. That's awesome. Now, the second DLC is supposed to be an event that happens at the end of the game. That's a rumor. I hope that the second DLC is Chris. I don't know if that's going to be the case. There is a big there's 2 endings, and there's stay for the credits like you would for an MCU film. You'll see what I'm talking about when you beat it. But this is where it gets dope. Their next couple of years is lining up to be, if you're a fan of Resident Evil, Cork, and Fuzzy, I know Fuzzy definitely, he's a horror guy. Next year, and I'm very excited for this. I know a lot of people are not, and I don't know why. I can't remember why people dislike this game. Resident Evil Code Veronica. Oh my freaking goodness. Does anyone remember the opening where, Claire, she's holding a gun and she drops it and then she does that action move. She catches. How dope was that? That was a Dreamcast exclusive. I watched that opening 1,000 freaking times with my brother. We were completely blown away. Resident Evil 0 remake. Now, this one that's kind of weird. I'm going to be honest with you. I love the original, but I also hated it as well because for some odd reason, if anyone remembers it, and it's 100 years ago, there were no item boxes. Like you literally had to have everything on the floor. It was the craziest thing Capcom's ever done. Hopefully, they fix that. Great story. It's with Rebecca Chambers, and that's just she's a great character. They never really utilized her. She was, she was one of the she was the medic from the first team, Bravo team that went over. And again, I don't think a lot of people even played that game. That game was dope, except for having to leave your stuff all over the floor. It was crazy. And then 2029, Resident Evil, they're calling it X, it's 10, whatever you want to say. And supposedly Resident Evil 1, I know it's in active development, 2030. Man, I hope we don't have to wait. I hope they start to release these things a little bit, like don't take a year, release maybe 2 in a year. I don't care. I'd be very excited for that. Cork, have you played Resident 9? What are your thoughts? And more importantly, this roadmap for Capcom and Resident Evil is just bonkers. Let's get your thoughts, man.
It's great. I absolutely loved it. I finished it last week, like early, or maybe early beginning this week. I can't remember when, but it was definitely sometime within the last few days. Absolutely solid. It incorporates everything that people loved about 7 and brought back, 7 and 8, the whole first person kind of experience, and then really captured that old school classic third person, style and feel of combat with it, so it's such a good, and the storyline is great. The audio is great. There's so many, it is really like, I'm not trying to be like, manly and tough and stuff like that, but I don't get scared a lot. And this one actually had me at certain points in times where I was like hunched down, okay, trying to like move through as Grace, and legitimately like terrified that there might be a jump scare. And that's an amazing feeling, especially for a Resident Evil game again. How they've really dove into that horror genre, is great, and I absolutely love what they did. And you're right, the actors, the voice acting is great. I think it's Angela Santalbano, Albino. I can't remember her name. She's the one that plays Grace. Absolutely amazing voice actress, what she did there. Leon's always great. Yeah, man, I absolutely love this game. I think it does, for me, it does have some pacing issues. I would much rather have some of those puzzles, because that's what I loved about 7 and 8 was the puzzle experience and moving through. I kind of wish it had some more of that aspect into it. But I think what they did with 9, if they did another one with 10 like that, I wouldn't complain. I think it would be great with it. I'm trying to like talk about it without giving so much, because there are really cool experiences there. If you're an old school Resident Evil fan, you're going to be very, very pleased. They definitely scratched that nostalgia itch that people were looking for, and I think it was a perfect way. Well, no, I can't say that because that's going to give away some stuff.
Be super careful. You know what?
Yeah, it's so hard to speak about
if I could just jump in for a second, Cork. What Cork is trying to say without spoiling, because that's the one thing you don't want to do. The best way I think it could be described is if you're a fan of the games, if you're a fan of the universe, if you're a fan of the series, they really did the right thing. The fans, this is the best way to say it. The fan service in this game is the best I've ever seen Capcom do. That's it.
Yeah, that's a perfect way to put it. The fan service. There were so many times, like, that Leo DiCaprio meme, where he's like pointing, like that was me. Like, through a lot of the experience of the game was like, oh, there's that. So many little tiny details that they just absolutely nailed and paid homage to is just so stunning. The game graphically, the RE9 engine just keeps, that engine right there just keeps getting so much better. Especially I played it on PC, and yeah, man, it was absolutely gorgeous on the 4090. It did have some issues to start. The path tracing had like a massive bug. You'd play for like 30 minutes and it would just keep crashing. But I think they fixed it now with the new drivers for NVIDIA. So yeah, it's an absolute beast of a game. The action sequences hit in all the right places. The terrifying, like I said, literally had me hunched down, like slow crawling and like getting into a game. And it's so rare a game actually is able to capture that again. So if I had to give it a score, I'd probably say 9, probably 9 out of 10, maybe 8.7, 8.8. But yeah, somewhere around that range.
I mean, that's a strong score, man. For me, look, I'm probably going to get panned for this, maybe even clipped. For me, it's a 10 out of 10. There wasn't a singular thing wrong with this game for me personally. But I'm also a Resident Evil nerd, and it's my favorite series in gaming. Like, there is not another series that tops RE for me. Not one. I've beaten them all a million times. I will beat this game 10 times. But by the time I'm done. And whether I'm OP'd, rocket launching animal or not, I'm gonna play through this game. I cannot wait. I'm running through it again. Now I feel confident with Grace. Before, look, I'm not gonna lie. I played just like Cork was saying. I kind of crawled everywhere, like around corners. I reloaded saves because it's funny. It says it took me only 12 hours to beat the game, but I think I have like a day worth of time in the game. According to Xbox, I reloaded saves a lot. Like especially the missing of shots, because I missed a lot of shots. And you know what? I'm so angry at myself. This is for anyone that's just starting with Resident Evil 9. So thanks to Everborn Saga, he's like, boom. Did you miss a lot of shots? I'm like, bro, like I missed so many shots. It's crazy. You can add auto aim. And you can move the sensitivity up that goes right to the head, and all you have to do is let off the trigger, and it goes right back. I'm sorry, I know that people are like, no, that's not. You shouldn't play like that. You gotta risk your life. Listen, but you gotta count the bullets in this game when you're not Leon. Okay, I'm sorry. You just have to. You can't be missing those headshots. So I'm sorry. 90% of the game I played, I missed shots. The last 10%, I'm like, yo, F this. I'm going crazy. And I'm going to be honest with you, I'm going to start it with the same thing. So, yes, you can go into settings if you didn't know, and you can move the sensitivity all the way up and then put it where it's locked on. That made it even better, but still scary AF. Fuzzy Belvedere,
I was going to say, and here is one of the cool little details that you might not notice. Watch how Leon and Grace both hold the guns. Grace's hands actually shake while you're aiming, and Leon's is dead center. Like it's little details, and you can even see it like shaking when you're trying to aim. That's why I missed a lot of my shots too, is because of that little tiny feature, but it adds so much to the immersion.
The tension is real, man. You can cut a knife with that tension. But thank you so much for that, Cork. Fuzzy, let's get you in here, man. We know you're a horror guy. We know you and the missus have a horror podcast. We're going to talk about that in a few minutes when we get to your outros. But Resident Evil 9, man. I mean, look, first of all, it's a masterclass release from Capcom. But their roadmap is freaking bonkers at this point. Let's get your thoughts, man.
Well, I'll start off with the score. I give it a 9 out of 10 as well. The key thing, either surround sound stereo or headphones. Either one of those.
Yep.
It adds to the immersion, because you'll hear things that may sound like they're above you or in the walls or in another room. And it can help you tell if something's chasing you or if you should probably not stay where you're at, kind of thing. But I like the fact that even like the voice actress for Grace, they had her at one of the Capcom events or something like that, and she was playing the game, and the game was scaring her, and then people would walk up behind her and put their like hands on her shoulder, like, "Oh yeah." I don't know if they were intentionally trying to scare her or not, but everybody's now trying to get her to do like a playthrough and stream it on like Twitch or something like that, because I think she'd be a perfect candidate, especially considering how her character is in the game. I think a lot of she definitely, will earn her probably actress award, or something along those lines, like best voice actress, or whoever the case is for the end of the year. But yeah, there's a lot of tension on one end, and then you I won't say you feel like Rambo, but you definitely have a lot more leeway. It's more of a, you don't have to worry as much about ammo playing with one character. But yeah, playing with as Grace, it's like you're like, oh, I got one Requiem bullet, and I got 3 regular bullets, but I could make this shiv that only works like maybe once or twice. Oh, it's now stuck in their eye. All right, I gotta run. I gotta see if I can lead this zombie somewhere else. But yeah, it's so much fun. No spoilers, but yeah, I recommend good audio, headphones or surround sound. Definitely makes a difference. In some instances, you may want to adjust your brightness, because there are going to be some areas where you're walking blind. But yeah, it's so much fun. I think this is one of those games that it's on my list for game of the year. I don't know if it's going to stay there. We'll see how Crimson Desert does next week and stuff like that. But yeah, I wasn't really expecting this one to be as intense visually, as well as just the storyline. And there's always those like movie like moments, like, oh yeah, I did something, and now it's like, crap. You gotta either start over or reload a save or something along those lines. But yeah, it's so much fun. They did an excellent job with this game. For me, a big improvement over 7. I didn't play 8 for whatever reason. I think it was a matter of I don't know. I think there was some other game. I was probably playing Diablo at the time, so that I think was probably what took up my time at that moment. But yeah, this is definitely a game that will probably be in the game of the year conversation at the end of the year. There'll definitely be some other ones that sneak in there as well. But I would say if you're a horror fan and you want 2 different perspectives, like you can do the third person or the first person. I did everybody in third person just because I like the third person perspective, because sometimes running away makes it a little bit more interesting, and figuring out why you're kind of moving slower than you expect. There's a lot of blood on the floor in some places, so when you run, you slip, and you get to see that from the third person perspective. So it definitely comes in handy. But I think Capcom nailed it with this one, and can only wait to see what they do with the Resident Evil remakes that they're working on now, and Resident Evil 10, as well as the DLC. Yeah, Capcom they went from almost being bankrupt and being acquired to now being one of the top publishers that doesn't have their own platform per se, kind of deal. Yeah, they're really been cooking as of late, and they got a few more tricks up their sleeve for before this year is out. So can't wait to see it.
What do you think about their roadmap, dude? Because look, it's a weird order, to be honest with you, the way they've done things. So if you go back, Resident Evil 2, 2019, Resident Evil 3, which was really good, but it wasn't great. As a fan of that, and it's weird because if you go back to the PlayStation days where they released Resident 2, a year later, Resident 3 came out. Now, I don't know if it was planned DLC. There wasn't really like DLC back in those days.
Yeah.
And it came out the next year, which was incredible. And it was with Nemesis, and it was really good. They left out a lot in the remake. They left out the whole zoo part. They left out the fight at the clock tower with Nemesis.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm a diehard fan. I beat those games hundreds of times. So it was a shorter experience. The remake still good, but if it would have had those things that they missed, it would have been like God tier, right? Resident 4 comes out, and Resident 4 is just a master class in every sense of the word. So there is 5, and they haven't done that. And I actually hope they do, because 5 was dope because it added, you could play through it single player, but it had a co-op aspect to it, which was really dope. And so maybe they get to 5. So they're currently working on Code Veronica, which I know a lot of people don't like. And listen, you ain't gonna budge me off. I loved freaking Code Veronica. I beat that game a dozen times or more, and I cannot wait for the remake. They're gonna probably modernize it for sure, make it a little bit more like the classic Resident that you know and love. And then Zero. Zero's a great game. A lot of people didn't play it. Super weird. Again, it was Rebecca Chambers. It was it was an escapee that worked for Umbrella, or it didn't work for Umbrella. They weren't sure. I don't want to ruin anything if you haven't played it. I can't wait to replay it. Hopefully they'll add like boxes this time and not have you put everything on the floor. And then Resident Evil 10 is expected in 2029. I think that's what they said, or that's the rumor. And then Resident Evil 1. So, look, I'll put it this way. Capcom has figured it out where they can tell new stories, give you classic RE games, and then release a game like RE9 that's the best of both worlds. You're getting classic Leon. You're getting Resident Evil 7 horror. Because, there's nothing horror about what's going on with Leon. It's basically playing as a action hero. He's John Wick is really what it is. And it's so different. The play style is so vastly different than, he's this cool cat. He has all these one-liners. It's like an 80s action movie you're playing. And then there's the gray section where she's incredibly vulnerable. The voice actors, again, just when she talks, she shakes. Her voice is so shaky. And like Korkenstein said, I'm not going to sit there and lie to you, folks. I was crawling around every corner, especially when I know I had 8 rounds. I kept 2 joints on me because I had accidentally put bullets into another gun that I found, and I'm like, oh my god, each one has 13. This has 12. I carried 2 guns. I'm sorry you couldn't use 2 guns, but. Listen, we're going to get out of here, folks. All I will say is that I have gushed about this game. If you are a fan of even a pinch of Resident Evil, you got to play this game. But real quick, Fuzzy, I'm going to bring you back in. What are your thoughts on the roadmap, man? Because we're going to be eating good. And this is Capcom isn't stopping with them. They have a lot of games that are coming out along with Resident Evil in the next couple of years.
Yeah, the 2 DLCs that they have going and everything they have going as far as between now and Resident Evil 10, I think this is kind of like that blueprint that hopefully we see a follow-up on something like Evil Within. Although I know, yes, they closed the studio, but Xbox still owns the IP. It would be nice to see if they can do some sort of revival of that IP as well. But this is a blueprint for all the horror games, which Mikami, I think, is now, he's got his new studio Unbound, and he's working on a new title. So we'll see if he has something that can rival this. But yeah, Capcom is definitely making an example of how to handle classic IP that's beloved, bring it into the modern day, and then also release new iterations of it with some fan service mixed in between, and being on that edge where, okay, not everybody likes, that, jump scare, I guess limited resource runs kind of thing. Some people want to be able to, kick ass and take names kind of deal, like their own version of The Walking Dead. Yeah, I think this roadmap that they have, considering all the bells and whistles that they've added throughout these titles, I'm looking forward to it. It's great to see, the horror genre kind of, I guess being in the forefront again, or having spotlight. And Silent Hill, I'm hoping we get to see more of those. I'm looking forward to the one that's, I guess, for whatever reason not coming to Xbox, but I'll wind up playing that regardless. But yeah, it's awesome seeing what Capcom has planned for the next, I guess it would be like the next 3 or 4 years.
Yeah, I mean, listen, again, if you're a fan, buy this game. Wait for a sale if you don't want to pay full boat. I hear you. I understand money's tight for a lot of folks. But it's worth it's worth it. It's so good. About if you're a seasoned veteran of Resident Evil, 12 to 14 hours, give or take. If you're someone that really is not, maybe 15 hours, maybe I don't want to say 20. 20 would be a lot. The replayability of this game, I think people are gonna do speed runs. I think there are a lot of achievements to get. There's there's the achievement for beating it under 3 hours. You do that when you have unlimited rockets. You just run it. You're literally running through everything. But play the game, and I love the fact that as a diehard Resident fan, there's so much to look forward to. There is a new film franchise coming out. It is not being done by Paul S. Anderson, who made the other Resident Evils that were, and certainly the Welcome to Raccoon City. Please just erase that from humanity. That was a terrible film. They're actually doing a new Resident Evil with the creatures from the universe, not the characters. It's going to be new stories, which I don't really, I guess how that works out. I don't know. But I think there's stories to be told with Leon and Claire and Jill and Chris and everybody else that we haven't heard. I mean, we haven't heard a lot about Barry Burton from the first one. We only know he was in one other game. So I'd like to see something with him, but we'll see what happens. But look, let me catch up on the 3 super chats and we'll get everyone out of here so you can start your Friday. Brett Bingham in the chat drops a very generous $5 super chat. And this is what he says. Asha, we have a new console, Digital Foundry and IGN. And of course, I guess they're asking, can we have an exclusive article when it's shown off? Asha, let me think about it. F no. I'm going to be honest with you. Look, I know that there's some people in the chat that have friends at IGN. Well, I don't. So I don't care. And I'm not looking to get on the couch with Ryan McCaffrey or anybody else, so I don't really give a shit. IGN is a tabloid. And I'm looking at the camera and saying that from my heart. And they freaking know it. In my opinion, IGN is as good as like the Inquirer that you see when you're paying for your groceries. And they freaking know it, man. And they roll with it. So no, I don't have any love for IGN, and I'm not sorry that I am that I say that publicly. I'm not worried about being blackballed or blacklisted by IGN. It's fine. I'll be able to live tomorrow. It's okay. And no, I wouldn't give them exclusive. And you know something? Digital Foundry, I'd give them that too. They're independent, so of course they need to pay the rent. So of course they're gonna troll. If they have to troll, they're gonna troll hard. And that's what they've been doing. So these are websites and people I don't pay attention to. I will give credit, like if I read an IGN article and I think that it's well written, I'll give credit to the to the person writing it. I'll add it to the show notes. I'm not going to never do that. But IGN as a whole, they're a terrible company, and they know it. And that's the bottom line. Freddie Fox drops a very generous $2 super chat and says CV was the first RE with an in-game graphics cutscenes. Yeah, dude. He's talking about Code Veronica. That Code Veronica was, when that launched as a Dreamcast exclusive, that was as crazy as Resident Evil 4 launching as a GameCube exclusive. A lot of people don't even freaking know that, man. Just absolutely wild. But thank you for the generosity as always, Freddie. We have Oscar Wheat dropping a very generous $5 super chat. It says RE9 is incredible. Haven't beat it yet. I'm a Silent Hill fanatic. I feel respectfully the makers of Silent Hill should take notes from Resident 9. I mean, look, both series have always gone toe to toe with each other. I'm really enjoying. I haven't beaten it as of yet, but I'm really enjoying Silent Hill 2 remake. It's so well. The Bloober team did such an incredible job with that game. Um, but I think you're onto something. Look, as much as almost all the remakes have been like high quality, incredible things, Resident Evil 9 is probably my favorite in the series. Like it's so and I'm a fanatic when it comes to Resident. And Resident 2, you heard me say this before, is super high on my list, but my God, Resident 9 is so good. I cannot stop giving this game its flowers. That's just it's all I can say. But gentlemen, chat, thank you so much for hanging out with us. We got to get on out of here. You guys got to get on out of here. A big thank you to all the super chats, channel member chats, gifted subs that continue to come in. Mrs. Boom and I do honestly and truly appreciate every single one of you that donate to the channel one way or another. Again, we do our giveaways and we can't do any of that. I mean, like just this year alone, just with updating all the, because and when the year goes, we have to re-up on all the programs that we use. And if it's not Artlist for the music, it's Canva for the thumbnails. If it's not that, it's YouTube Studio. All of this stuff costs money, man. And you allow us to to make the channel better by allowing us to have these programs. So of course, anything that you give us through channel member chats or gifted subs or super chats, we always funnel it back into the channel. So a big thank you for that. Let's get everyone out of here. Cork and Sand, sell the brand, brother. Tell the world what you're doing with the Xbox channel, what you're doing with the Xbox subreddit, which you have over 1 million subs, which is insanely awesome. And what else you got going on, brother?
Yeah, again, thank you guys. Always a pleasure talking to you, Boom, to you, Fuzzy, the community out there. So many awesome people out there, with their awesome opinions and talking civilly. I love that with this channel. Is everybody's respectful and we all have great conversation, and that's what gaming's about. For me, I actually just got good news from YouTube. I had issues because I already had a Korkenstein Gaming brand account, and I've been trying to get it removed so I could overtake the other one, and they just approved it. So I got that cleared out.
Nice.
I'll be able to switch over all the assets and everything pretty soon. So that's a good news on that. With the Xbox subreddit, yeah, we've been thriving. We have a lot of really cool stuff going on. A few AMAs coming up.
Oh, nice.
So yeah, just be on the lookout there. We still have a ton of codes to give away. So yeah, just join the channel, join the subreddit, our Xbox. It's the home for everything Xbox on Reddit. That's where we have a really great community there that loves just talking about Xbox. And yeah, just join us there.
Well, thank you, brother. Super appreciate it, and I'm glad. I'm actually surprised you were able to get in touch with somebody. Unless you are someone that has 100,000 subscribers or know somebody in the business, it's tough getting customer service for YouTube. But thankfully, thank God we haven't really needed it. The one time we did, they responded pretty quickly and they rectified a very small situation that we were having. But I'm glad that worked out for you, brother. Good to hear. Again, enjoy your weekend. Thank you so much for being here as you are every Friday. Fuzzy Belvedere, let's sell the brand of not only your YouTube channel, which will be the best place for anything and everything. If you're looking for Forza Horizon news, reviews, and opinions, he also teams up with the missus every Friday on a horror-based podcast called Fright Night with Ferocious Fee, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Sell the brand, brother. Where can people follow you both on the socials, but more importantly, subscribe to your YouTube channels?
Well, as always, love doing this show on Friday mornings with you, Boom, as well as Korkenstein. Just love talking about the industry and games and all the stuff that's, up and coming as far as hardware and, some big titles next week and in May. And yeah, it's getting dangerous out there considering with Game Pass right now and the backlog. Definitely clear that backlog, people. Try to find the time, make time, whatever you can do, clear that backlog as best you can. Thank you, chat, for coming out here. Always appreciate you guys, interacting with you guys and hearing your guys' thoughts and feedback and stuff on the industry. And the debates that we have on the gaming media and some of the console stuff and PC stuff that we're seeing now. But it's all part of the hobby. Love talking about it. Love interacting with you guys. And for those that want to hear my rambles and rants on anything gaming related, just follow Fuzzy Belvedere on pretty much any social media. I put the link in the chat for Fright Night with Ferocious Fee. Tonight, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we'll be talking about Dark Skies. Kind of missed out on doing it last week, schedule conflicts and whatnot, but we're going to be talking about Dark Skies tonight. Probably get off track like we usually do, so bring snacks if you haven't already set aside snacks. So it's always a fun time just to hang out. And I also put the link in the chat for my YouTube channel. We'll be doing a lot more content for Forza Horizon 6. A lot of thoughts on some of the stuff I saw with the IGN, first look, as well as the sit down that they had with the devs on things to expect. Can't wait to see some of you guys at the car meets, see what the liveries and tunes that you guys have, and see if we can't race it out on the highway out there. But man, it's going to be an awesome year. Looking forward to all these games. So be safe out there. Have fun this weekend, and hope to see you guys right here Monday afternoon for Xbox Lunch Break Special. See you then.
As a matter of fact, I'm literally writing that show as we speak, and we are going to be talking about Forza. There's been a lot of big information on how many roads. I think Brett Bingham actually sent me a DM. I think there's like 665 roads to drive, which is what? I hope they all don't have signs, because then people are going to really make fun of my driving at that point, because I'm going to be trying to hunt all those damn signs down. But ladies and gentlemen, have a wonderful weekend. Thank you so much for tuning in. We super appreciate the generosity, as I said before. And of course, we're going to close out the show with something that's incredibly important to me. Hopefully one day it'll be important to you. And that's something that my dad taught us when we were kids. He would say, Craig, treat others how you want to be treated. And also, it doesn't cost anything to be nice. You live by those rules, son. I can guarantee you're going to have an awesome day. So take care, everyone. Have a great weekend. And we'll see you next week on the newest episode of Breakfast with Boom.